Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another interesting episode on your favorite Little Star YouTube channel. So today in this video, we're going to see about the Neoload. Yes, you're seeing in the screen about Neoload. So we're going to see about the Neoload interview questions, and in fact, very recently, one of our subscriber has got a very wonderful opportunity by watching the videos. So please do watch the videos and do practice it, and that will help you definitely get a good role in a good organization. And coming back to this video, so what are we going to do? What are we going to see today? So we're going to see what is the difference between load testing and stress testing, and how are we going to do, how can we do the load testing and the stress testing in Neoload. So I can show you directly on how to do that, and this will definitely help you in your interview questions, because almost the load testing and the stress testing setup would look same, but the point here is you have to understand the difference between the load testing and the stress testing, and also you have to understand how to make the change, or how to bring the change in terms of the setup. So before we move on to this video, this is me, Yasin Shandugam. I welcome you all to our Little Slow YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't subscribed yet, and please do let me know your comments and feedback in the comment section. I'm recent days I'm getting a lot of comments and feedbacks, and thank you so much for that. And coming back to this video, so before we see how do we set up, let me just explain you the difference between the load testing and the stress testing. So load testing in Neoload involves testing the system under expected load conditions. So you know the load, and you're going to use that same load for the load testing using Neoload. And if you're doing stress testing, you're going to assess the system's behavior beyond its normal capacity to determine the breaking point. So here I have left you a clue. And the clue is, in load testing, you're going to run the test with the expected load condition, and stress testing, you're going to assess the system behavior beyond its normal capacity to determine the breaking points. So coming back to this test. So here, for example, I've shown you a very basic, I'm showing you a very basic example. So here I have a user path, and inside the user path I have the actions, and then I'm going to create a population where I add the test, then I add the percentage of, the workload distribution, and then I'll set up the browser details, the WAN emulation, and the handle cache. Everything is set apart. And in case if you have any monitors to be added, you can very well add the monitors as well. And coming back to this runtime, so this is where you're going to set up your load test. So first we'll see how to set up the load test using Neoload. And coming back to this part, so I'm going to, let me just create a scenario. So the scenario here is, I'm going to change the scenario to load test scenario. So in this scenario, we're going to run the load test, and if you have any renders policy, you can add that. If you want to schedule your test, you can very well schedule it, and if you want to exclude any URL, you can very well add that here. But for now, we are not going to do any of these. And then just only thing is, I've changed the name to the load test scenario. And then what else I'm going to change? So here we have the earlier population where we have the scripts, and then coming back to this part, the time. So in our example, I'm going to use 1 hour and 10 minutes of load. So this is going to be a load test. So we know the load, and we're going to use the maximum load which you're going to run for the test. And I'm going to use the assessment load generator and selecting the custom here, clicking on the graph. So for example, if I want to run 1000 user load test, I can select this 1000 users, and I have to set up the duration of the test, which is 1 hour 10 minutes. And then I'm going to set up the ramp up part. So for that, I'm going to click press the control button and click anywhere on the screen, and then same towards the end of the test, I'm going to click it, and then just click on the starting point. So from this 0th second to this particular second, it will be the ramp up. I'm going to set up like 6 minutes for this. So this will be a 6 minute 0 seconds, and I'm going to use 1000 users. So by this time, by the 6th minute, I'll have all my 1000 users in the system. And then towards the end, at around 1 minute and 6 seconds, so 1 hour and 6 minutes, I'll have all the 1000 users who will start to ramp down. So you can see here, I have a ramp up of 6 minutes and a steady state of 1 hour, and then I have a ramp down of 4 minutes. So which basically is a load test for 1 hour and 10 minutes. So this is how I set up my load test, and what are the key thing is I'm not going to change the load during the entire test. It's just the ramp up part where all the users who will log into the system, and then I'm going to use the maximum load, which is 1000 users from the 6th minute to the 1 hour 6 minutes, and then they will ramp down from the 1 hour 6 minutes, and then they will almost, the ramp down might be extended, but still they make sure that they are ramped down by the end of the test. And that's how I set up the load test. And coming back to the next part, which is the stress test. So I'm going to duplicate this one. So when you right click on the scenario, you get several options. In case if you haven't known that, you can click on add, where you can add a new scenario. Let me just do that. Okay, let me right click on it and click on add. So this will create a new scenario, and I'm going to use stress test scenario. Click on OK. And if you want to remove, you can click on this minus, so that will remove the scenario. And if you click on advanced, it will take you to the advanced settings, scenario settings. And if you're clicking on start debugging, it will start debugging your script. And if you want to start playing, if you want to run the test, you can click on start playing. But for now, I'm going to make the changes for the stress test scenario. I'm going to use the same script, right? So I'm not going to make any change in the script in terms of the load test or in the stress test, because in many of the scenario, what we do is we use the same set of populations, right? Same amount of population, the same set of population. So we don't need to change that. But when it comes to the time, let me give you my example. So I normally use a 2 hour of test, and because by that 2 hour of time, I will make sure that I reach or I add more users till the level where it reaches its maximum point, and then I'll come to the custom, edit the graph, and what I'll do is with the very first point. So we normally don't do the test with the maximum load. So what I will do is I'll start the test with 100 users. So before that, I'll change the duration to same 2 hours of duration, and then I will click on the control, press the control button, and sorry, let me change it to 1000 users. I will, in fact, there are two scenarios, so let me take you through the first scenario. So the first scenario is that I would be told, or I would based on the previous analytics details, or based on the discussion with the dev team or with the BA team, I would understand like what could be the maximum load. And if they say that, okay, the system can handle up to 5000 users, so that scenario, I will make sure that I have 10,000 users, which is I will double the load which they expect would fail. And then what I'll do is I'll press the control button. I'll click on the part where I wanted to run the test. So for example, in this scenario, I'm going to click on 500 users. So in the very first 10 minutes, I will reach 500 users, and then I will reach 1000 users by 20th minute. Click again in the screen, and that is for 1500 users by, okay, initially we had 10 users, 10 users and 500 users in 10 minutes, and then we had 1000 users in 20 minutes, and then I'll slowly increase 1500 users to 50. I think it is, if it is 20, then it is going to be 30 minutes. So by the time of 30 minutes, what I would even do is I will even reduce this time. I will just bring the first 500 users in 5 minutes. I'll bring the 1000 users in 10 minutes, and then the 1500 users in 15 minutes, and the same way I'll keep on increasing. For example, like 2000, 2500, 3000, 3500, 4000, 4500, 5000, 500. Let me just, okay, same way I will reach the maximum load, because at one point of time what happens is the user will start to fail for sure. So that's one thing. So that's one way of approaching this stress testing. So that's my first approach. And the second approach is that's more it involves a little bit of manual work. So what I'll do is I'll have the same maximum users, or what I'll do is I'll just have the maximum users to like 500, just 500. I'll not increase. Let me just bring it back again. Click on edit the graph. What I'll do is like I'll just keep the maximum user to 500, and then I'll set it up like after 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, let me just select this one as well. Yeah, so after 5 or 10 minutes, I will reach the max load, which is 500 users. And then the next thing which I will do is I'll just keep this to be a steady state, like until 2 hours, let it run. But then what I'll do is like when the test is running, I'll go to the runtime users part, and then here you can see there is this plus symbol. So I will add the users, like how many users. It can be like 500 users for every 5 minutes, or 500 users for every 10 minutes, or 1000 users for every 10 minutes. So by doing this, I can manually inject, or I can manually add more and more and more and users until the end of the test. And by the time, yes, we all know, since we are giving more stress, so definitely the application would fail, or it will come down at some point of time. So by the time you understand like what is the maximum load of the system. So these are some of the ways that you can set up the load and the stress testing. And that difference, again, let me just do a quick recap. So load testing involves testing the system under expected load. So you're going to just use the same load. In this example I've told you about 1000 users, I'm going to use the same 1000 users for the load test. And in case for stress testing, so I have two scenarios. So one is I have doubled the very max load, and then I have tested, and then I will slowly ramp up the users to the maximum limit. And the second one is I use just the 1000 users, the load test load, but then I will manually increase the load for every 5 minutes or for every 10 minutes to make sure the system reaches its breaking point. So that's the way you can test. And yeah, we'll meet in another Neoload interview question in our next video. Until then, it's bye bye from Vasan Shanmugam and your very favorite Little Slide channel. Take care and bye bye.